Welcome to another Ziva Math video. In this video, our second about order of operations, you will learn the steps for solving order of operation problems with grouping symbols. This video includes problems with two levels of grouping symbols, but we did not include problems with exponents. Let's take a look at our examples. In this first example, you can see that we have grouping symbols in the form of parentheses. You can also see that off to the right, I wrote PEMDAS, but if you use GEMS or whatever other method that you use, making a note of it off to the side allows you to check off the steps as you've done them. And we can see that we start off with the P, which is parentheses, but it actually stands for any of our grouping symbols that we have. So looking inside our parentheses, then I'm on the E for exponents. I don't see any exponents inside those grouping symbols, so now I'm looking for multiplication and division. The only multiplication and division I see in the parentheses is the 3 times 2. So that's where I'm going to need to start. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I'm going to need to write in or bring down the rest of my problem. So I still have the 7. We're subtracting that product of 3 times 2, and I need to bring down the rest of the problem. I don't see any other multiplication and division inside my grouping symbol, so I'm on the addition and subtraction, and that's actually the only step that I see. Inside my parentheses, I have 7 minus 6, so that's my next step. 7 minus 6 is 1. And again, I'm going to write in or bring down the rest of my problem. So now I don't see any other grouping symbols here in my problem. So I am going to cross my P off because my grouping symbols are done. I didn't have any exponents at the beginning because there aren't any in the problem, so I'm going to cross that off as well. Then multiplication and division, there isn't any more in the problem, so I'm on addition and subtraction, and I'm going to do that from left to right. So I'll start with the 10 plus 1, which is 11. I'll bring down the rest of the problem, the plus 8. So for my final step, I'll have 11 plus 8, and 11 plus 8 is 19. So my final answer is 19. Okay, let's slow these steps down in this example. You'll notice that I have one set of grouping symbols in the form of the parentheses, and again off to the right I've written PEMDAS. And I'm going to start with the P, which stands for parentheses or any other grouping symbols that you have. And I'm going to start by looking just inside the parentheses. E is exponents. I don't have any exponents, which means now I'm on the multiplication and division step from left to right inside my parentheses. Well, I have 8 divided by 2. That's the first thing I have inside the parentheses, and that's where I'm going to start. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then I'm going to very carefully bring down the rest of my problem. So inside my parentheses, I have 4 plus 6. I have the 5 just on the outside. And then at the end of the problem, I have minus 7. So I'm going to make sure I get every single piece written in. Now I'm still working inside my parentheses. I don't have any more multiplication or division steps inside the parentheses. So now I'm looking at addition and subtraction inside the parentheses. And inside the parentheses, I only have one step remaining. It is an addition step. So I'm looking at the 4 plus 6 inside the parentheses. And 4 plus 6 is 10. And then I'm going to very carefully bring down the rest of the problem. In this instance, since I have the 5 next to the parentheses, which is showing me multiplication, I'm going to leave parentheses around the 10. Bring down the 5, bring down the minus 7 so I can see what my next steps are. Now, I don't have any grouping symbols left, so I can cross off my P. I don't have any exponents in my problem, so I can cross that off as well. Now I'm on multiplication and division. Starting on the left, I see I have 5 times 10, and 5 times 10 is 50. And again, you're going to want to bring the rest of your problem down. So we need to bring the minus 7 down. And I don't have any more multiplication or division. I actually only have one step left, so that's my final step here, 50 minus 7, and 50 minus 7 is 43. In this example, you can see that I have two sets of parentheses, and I'm going to work through this problem the same way, starting with PEMDAS with the P, which stands for parentheses and grouping symbols, and I'm going to be looking inside both sets of these parentheses. Inside them, I do not see any exponents, so I'm now looking for multiplication and division, and I see multiplication and division in each one. So let's worry about the first set of parentheses first, and I have 6 divided by 3, which is 2, and I can look inside the second set of parentheses and do the 8 times 3 here at the same time in the same line. So 8 times 3 is 24. Then we're going to want to bring the rest of the problem down, so very carefully writing in the rest of your problem. So we had 4 plus 2 is our quotient there, so 4 plus 2 inside that first set of parentheses, plus I've finished all the steps inside the second set of parentheses, so I don't need parentheses around the 24, and I'm going to bring down the rest of the problem, so minus 12 divided by 6. Now, I still have some grouping symbols here. I've done all the multiplication and division inside the grouping symbols, and I actually only have the one step left, the addition step of 4 plus 2. So I'm inside this parentheses doing 4 plus 2, and 4 plus 2 is 6. Then I'm going to want to carefully bring down the rest of the problem, so plus 24 minus 12 divided by 6. Now, I don't have any grouping symbols left, so I'm done with P. E stands for exponents. I don't have any exponents, so I'm done with E. Now I'm on multiplication and division, starting from the left. The only multiplication and division I see is 12 divided by 6. So 12 divided by 6 is my next step. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Then again, I'm going to very carefully bring down the rest of my problem, making a note that I am subtracting the 2. Done with multiplication and divisions, now I'm on addition and subtraction starting on the left. So starting with 6 plus 24. 6 plus 24 is 30. Bringing the rest of the problem down, minus 2. So my final step is 30 minus 2, and 30 minus 2 is 28. In this example, you see multiple sets of grouping symbols. We have parentheses and I've added brackets so you can see what two sets of grouping symbols will look like. And next to the PEMDAS, I actually noted that we have brackets and parentheses just for the sake of keeping us organized in this first problem. So I am going to start in the lowest level of grouping symbols, which means I'm going to start in the parentheses inside the brackets. So I'm going to start with the 4 plus 3, and 4 plus 3 is 7. And then I do want to go and carefully rewrite the rest of our problem, bringing everything down exactly how it is. Now I'm looking inside my brackets because I've finished with the parentheses, and I don't see any exponents in the brackets, so I'm looking at the multiplication and division left to right, and I've got two sets of multiplication, so I'll do the 7 times 2 first, because remember we do work left to right. 7 times 2 is 14, and then I'll do the second multiplication step that I have here, which is 2 times 3, which is 6. And then again, we're going to write in the rest of our problem, bringing everything down carefully. I'm still inside the grouping symbols, inside the brackets. I have no more multiplication and division, so I'll be doing the addition subtraction step of 14 plus 6. 14 plus 6 is 20. And that's the last operation inside the brackets, so I don't need the brackets or parentheses anymore. I'll bring down the rest of the problem, making note that I am subtracting what's inside the brackets. So I'll have 50 minus 20, and 50 minus 20 is 30. In this example, you see brackets, parentheses, you actually see multiple sets of parentheses. So we've given you multiple sets of grouping symbols and a little bit more of a complex problem to work through. We are going to start with our grouping symbols. We see the brackets, but we need to start with the lowest level of grouping symbols. So we're going to start with the parentheses inside these brackets. I don't have any exponents in the problem, so I'm going to be starting with the multiplication and division, starting on the left inside these parentheses. So I'm going to start with the 8 times 2, and 8 times 2 is 16. Then I'm going to write in the rest of the problem, being very careful to pay attention to signs, operations, parentheses, brackets, so that everything's written correctly. And I encourage you, especially when you're new to order of operations, to go ahead and work your problems one piece at a time, then bring everything down, rewriting it so you can see exactly what step that you're on. So for this next line, we're still working inside those brackets in the parentheses. So we have the 16 divided by 4, which will be our next step inside the brackets. But if you look further down the problem, we also have this 6 plus 3 in parentheses. And as you become more comfortable with order of operations, you can go ahead and solve the 6 plus 3 here at the same time. So our 16 divided by 4 is 4, and I'll very carefully bring everything down around it. So we'll have 7 plus the 4 minus the 6 inside those brackets, and then we'll be adding 2 times what's inside these parentheses. So 6 plus 3 is 9, and I'll be bringing down the 2. But notice our 9 needs to stay inside the parentheses because we have 2 times 9. We're multiplying 2 times what was inside those parentheses. And then we'll bring down our minus 10 times 2. So very carefully making sure we've rewritten all the steps in the problem. So I still have grouping symbols here, so that's where I need to continue. Inside those brackets, I'm going to do addition and subtraction from left to right. So I have 7 plus 4, which is 11. And then again, I'm going to take that extra few seconds to rewrite this problem, bringing everything down exactly how it is. And now I'm ready to continue, and I'm going to be continuing inside those brackets with 11 minus 6. I still haven't finished with my grouping symbols, so that's where I need to be. 11 minus 6 is 5, and I'm going to be bringing down the rest of the problem. So now my grouping symbols are done. So I'm done with the P and PEMDAS. I don't have any exponents, so I'll be looking at multiplication and division left to right. So the first thing that I see here is the 2 times 9, and 2 times 9 is 18. And then to the right, I have 10 times 2, and 10 times 2 is 20. And make a note that you are subtracting the product of 10 times 2. So we'll be subtracting the 20, and let's bring the rest of the problem down. So I'll have 5 plus 18 minus 20. No more multiplication and division, so I'll be working on addition and subtraction left to right. So 5 plus 18 is 23, and 23 minus 20 is 3. So our final answer here is 3. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to Ziva Math for more videos.